going on, everybody? My name is Mike, bringing you a game of StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. Last game that I played before the ladders actually closed at the end of Season 2. We are spawning on the map Star Station. My opponent today is going to be Gardeth, playing the blue Zerg pieces down here in the southeast position. And of course he's going to be facing myself, playing the red Protoss up here in the northeast position. I'm kind of proud of this game because I broke away from a little bit of the shticks that I kind of get roped into when it comes to how I play StarCraft. Mainly in that I don't just kind of turtle all game, go for one push, and then that's the end-all be-all. I think that's what a lot of people fall into, unfortunately. And it does happen, and it is unfortunate. We do see my probe is going to be moving out here across the map. Going to go for a bit of a scout here. Pylon down. I opt not to fast expand this game, and I instead do go for a one gateway opening. And you're going to see me apply a little bit of pressure here in a bit. I get the scout off in here. Gardeth has not opted to scout my base, instead just moving out with the Overlord. And he does get a kill on my probe, which is unfortunate. Not too happy about that. I think I do send a second probe out, actually, to scout again. We'll have to just wait for that. Gas going down, pretty standard here on the 13-14 supply limit. And there goes the second probe that I was talking about just there. I'll get guys mining gas right away. So I'm pretty on top of that. Second pylon coming down. The Overlord's going to make it up into my base now. See, nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. The expand going down on about 15 for Gardeth, as well as the pool came down a little bit before that. And throwing down a gas as well. So not too much crazy going on. Cybercore on the way for myself. I will get this other probe down here, just kind of hanging out at the natural expansion. I'll know that that's there, that's on the way. And I do believe I head up into the main base here. And I will scout that the pool has been indeed done, and he does have one gas. Suffice it to say, this game is played at about the mid to high gold league level, so these players are not pros. So our macro, our micro, our spending abilities are usually not the greatest. Second gas now completed for myself. Got warp gates on the way, and I do believe I throw down 3 more gateways here fairly soon. Meanwhile, nothing else new. Looks like he's just droning up hard. Our Zerg player, look at the income tab. I'm actually ahead in harvesters here, which is interesting. Meanwhile, we got the Roach Warren actually starting up now. So he's not really been droning all that hard, though a wave of drones did just pop. And I lost that other scouting probe. So not too pleased about that. Spine crawler down at the front. And here come the 3 more gateways that I was talking about, another pylon. And what I'm going to do is, I do have the mothership core out. I'm going to get 2 stalkers out of this while these are completing, and while my warp gate is still finishing. And then I'm going to warp in 3 more and apply pressure with those. And that's something I don't do quite often enough. I don't go for a little bit of early game aggression to just kind of keep my opponent on his toes. I generally stay back, and that's not what you want to do. You want to be a little bit aggressive. You don't want to just be overly passive in every game, and unfortunately that's kind of what I fall into most of the time. Pot calling the kettle black, however. My opponent is not really doing any of the same. Opting, not getting out a couple of roaches. Did get his Roach Warren down. Let's get back to the production tab. He's not really upgrading anything. He does have a few more roaches on the way and some Zerglings. Still hasn't taken his second gas. Back to the income tab. He's actually ahead in the harvester count now. Mainly because he does have his base down. But here I go with my 5 stalkers, and I do see he's got a pair of zerglings up front here, so I'm just going to pick those off real quick. And behind this moving out, I'm going to be setting my expansion up. Pylon at the front. And for whatever reason, I'm not making more probes behind this. And I do go for some additional work, additional stalkers there. So here comes my stalker force, going to move in on the front here. My mothership core is already in position. Actually got some pot shots off on the queen here. A few roaches in the front that I'm going to just try to pick off the zergling. I'll throw down a time warp. And I try to use the time warps as effectively as I can to kind of catch a few roaches. See, he goes straight into the time warp, which is what you don't want to do. So I'm going to get that roach and another for free, basically. But also behind this, he is throwing down his third. Now, I could have very easily denied this third. However, being a terrible gold leaguer, I just don't have the foresight to move over and check. Very weak stalker at the front with 1 hit point. It's going to get poked to death. So, not too thrilled about losing that stalker there. And at this point, I do retreat. And I've got a few more stalkers at the front. So now the game is going to fall back into that macro mode, like I say. Twilight Council as well as Double Forge going to be coming down for myself here. I'm starting to get this expansion set up, which is very late, honestly. Even behind pressure like that, I'd like to have this up a couple of minutes faster than I did. So I hearken that up to just not being that good. Third now completed for Gardeth. Going to be getting some drones over there. And he is going to start moving out across the map a little bit with a Zergling Roach force, just kind of scouting around. We'll start at the watchtower. I forget if he actually moves in on me with this, but we'll just have to wait and see. No, it looks like he's just going to kind of sit in the middle there. Meanwhile, I'm just continuing to macro up 1 sentry in this force. I do have +1/+1 on the way, so 1/1 being chrono boosted. And continuing to make workers here for my natural. And what I really should be doing at this point is trying to take a third. I've actually got the money to do so in the bank. But I'm kind of thinking at this point that he's going to make an attack on me. And I really don't have that much in the way of forces at this point. I've got a handful of stalkers and, 4 sentries in there. And it looks like he's going to move in on sort of where my third would be. And he does go in for an attack here. Catches those 2 stalkers out of there, and for whatever reason he backs out. He's actually in good position with the forces he had, so he's going to back out here, and because he's running away, I'm going to very easily just steal a few roach kills. Time warp not the greatest there. What I should be trying to do is go for some force fields to try to catch some of those roaches, but I don't do it. Because I'm terrible. Keeping a lot of his overlords at the front. He does have the overlord skin as well as the Zergling skin, which I fucking hate. Hydra Den down as well now, so he's going to be mixing in some Hydras. I do believe I've got an observer in the base here somewhere. No, actually my observer is on the way right now. But I am starting to get Storm out, as well as throw down 5 gateways. So get my macro really rolling now. The Zerg player is actually sitting on a lot of money. He does have 3 bases, a lot of minerals. He could be either mass expanding or doing something, transitioning to more gas because he does have a lot of minerals in the bank. Get out a bunch of Zerglings and just kind of go for like a big run by, something like that. I mean, that's what a good player would do, right? Meantime, I'm going to be taking my third here at the 1330 mark. And there's my observer. I'm going to scout the army. I basically send it on a bunch of rallies to just kind of scout around a whole lot at his front. Still on 3 bases. I'm now getting my third up. and continuing to chrono boost out upgrades. These warp gates are now done. I should be getting zealot speed here because I do kind of put a lot of zealots up front in my attack later on. Storm is now done, so I start getting the High Templars in to start gathering up some energy. And yeah, I mean, at this point this game has fallen into the mode of basic macro. I keep the Observer going around. Oddly enough, he doesn't have any Overseers over here, so little does he know. And he really, so let me see what his vision is. Yeah, he hasn't scouted me since the very beginning of the game, so he really doesn't know what I have. Meanwhile, honestly, I've seen pretty much everything. See if I get my Observer here and I check the vision. I mean, I haven't scouted him since, you know, around the beginning, but I see what his army is. I see what he has, though I don't necessarily see if he's going for like a Muta switch at this point. Right now, I'm just kind of keeping tabs on his army. And, you know, he's got a pretty scary force here. No upgrades on these guys yet, but Hydras do a lot of damage. I am going to start moving across the map here now, though, and a lot of Zealots up front. These Zealots are 1-1 with Storm backup, which is nice. My third is now complete. I should start building workers here any moment now. A handful more Stalkers will join up in the battle. Battle force, something along those lines. Fourth base coming up for Gardeth, and that's what he should be doing. He's banking a lot of money, and so am I at this point. I'm not really spending my money effectively. I could send a probe over here and just warp in half a dozen gateways, and you know, I have basically spent my money and have a real easy way to spend money. He's actually going to try to move in on my third here. I'm basically going to intercept him, drive him away with some storms. I get a lot of kills there. A lot of kills with that Storm. Storm is so good. 5 kills in that High Templar. So, can't really complain about that too much. I should be moving this Observer further down, but I don't. What else do I have going on? Continuing to chrono boost the upgrades. That's one thing I've been good at recently, is keeping the upgrades rolling. Getting out a few Immortals. I do end up supply blocking myself here, which is never good. You don't want to be supply blocked. That's never fun. So I need to get a bunch of pylons. I do throw down a Stargate, just in case I do need to make some sort of a tech switch. I don't remember actually building anything out of those Stargates. So yeah, not really too much worthwhile going on there. He does. Gardeth now has a macro hatch in his main. Infestation pit, double Evo chamber, so he's starting to roll with the upgrades now. I forget if he gets a Spire. He's also throwing down a 5th base. Meanwhile, I'm still on 3, so if this game were to go on for any longer than it did, and assuming he knew how to spend his money, which evidently he doesn't, and neither do I. We're both kind of floating the same amount of money here. I would be in big trouble. Yeah, granted, I've got a pretty decent army here, but he's already 200. He were to push on me right now and then just continue to remax after the initial engagement, he would most likely win. And I don't know why he has Corruptors, but he does. He has Corruptors. That is a thing. Where the hell is his Spire? Where the hell is the Spire? What the... Where the fuck is it? Am I just blind or something? Or is it underneath this friggin' mess of overlords at his front? Hold on a minute. Units. There's a structures tab, right? Where the fuck is the structures tab? There we go. It's T. Where is the spot? Greater Spire. There it is. So he has a Greater Spire, so he's actually going for... Yes, I remember this now. He's going for Broodlords. Here's the engagement. I basically drop all my Storms all at once. Not the greatest use of Storms, kind of ineffective, really. No, not ineffective in that I didn't kill anything. Ineffective in that I wasted a bunch. But I do have a lot of High Templars, so I'm able to use Storm quite a bit. I'm actually morphing a few of these into Archons. And I do see now what he is doing. He does go for some Broodlords. Kind of right underneath what I'm doing here, and basically all I'm doing at this point when I notice the broodlords start to come in is I go for a lot more stalkers. So at this point, I'm in pretty good shape. You know, he does have a lot of units, a lot of broodlords here. I'm not sure what the hell those force fields are for. But, you know, he's not really attacking me with these broodlords. I do kill a few of them before they even get into position to attack. And now he's basically dead. So those broodlords are ineffective at this point. He does have 3 of them, but they're not going to really do too much. And I just continue to bring stalkers down to bear. And I move into his natural. So not really too much he can do at this point. Supply lead is pretty hefty. I start picking off his overlords. Why on earth you would keep them at the front, I don't know. But his army is really just a few broodlords and a few hydralisks, which get cleaned up quite easily here. And here I am trying to micro. Let's even look at the APM tab and see how good I think I am. Average 229. Somehow I think that's a little bit skewed. My units do get a little clumped up here and a little bit discombobulated, but nothing too crazy. He actually does have a few more broodlords out right now. If he were to micro these properly, he could actually kill off all of this. But I do believe he ends up just kind of leaving the game here in a moment. I continue to bring more stalkers in. My stalkers are 3-3 at this point, so they are doing well. I actually back off here. Excuse me. I actually do back off here, and I start to get my 4th up. My 4th at the 23-minute. That's really not what you want to be. Maybe you want to be getting a 5th at the 23-minute as Protoss. But, you know, that would involve knowing how to macro. So I back off and I attempt to get some more forces out here. Actually going for shield upgrades because why not? And because I saw the broodlords, I'm getting a couple of void rays. So I do end up building from these stargates. I throw down another stargate there as well. Void ray, no upgrades, but I really don't need it all that much. And I start to get this 4th maxed out here. I'm floating so much money. So much money. I could throw down 20 gateways. That's retarded. That's ridiculous. Should never float that much money. Don't see this? Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Spend your money. I've got a lot of supply to play with. I could be getting tons upon tons of shit right now. Let me throw down some gateways over here, expand a bit. Like, I could take 2 bases for free, basically. But he's going to go in with whatever broodlords he does have left. I've got a lot of stalkers. I can easily deal with this. Unfortunately, I don't have blink, which would have helped. I could have blinked underneath, right? You know, I could have blinked underneath these. But it really doesn't matter. He ends up leaving the game. And really, he was beaten, but, you know, not terribly. Because I am terrible. But either way, I'm still trying to learn this game as are everybody, as is everybody in the gold leagues and leagues below, master, grandmaster, etc. But I hope to bring some more of this. I haven't uploaded a video in a while on StarCraft, so I'm trying to pick some good ones from my games, and unfortunately there aren't all that many. So I may actually go for an attempt to cast some pro games and see how that works out. Wow, he had a lot of Zerglings at the end. Wow, he wasn't dead. He really wasn't. Because you know what? These Zerglings could have gone here. Right? Could have killed off all of this. Because my army's over here. These Zerglings right here are in a perfect position to go right up over here. To hell with the fact that I have 6 cannons. Zerglings back here are maybe only getting pot-shotted by these 2. Right? He could also send Zerglings for a run by up here. He could have killed my economy, and he would have been right back in this. And again, if he just micros these broodlords, kind of keeps them out of range, then, you know, he's got a chance. And these Zerglings, I mean, granted, they're only 0-1. Does he have adrenal glands? Somehow I don't think... Yeah, he does, actually. Yeah. I think he does have cracklings at this point. So he's definitely... He was definitely not out of this game. But either way, a win for me, which is always good. And I hope to bring you some more soon. So if you guys enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it, whatever. I don't really care. But I'll see you next time.